Welcome back to my YouTube channel where I discuss fantasy Formula 1. My drivers, my constructors, yada yada yada. You know the deal by now if you've watched this channel before. I wish I could have recorded this right after Free Practice 2 ended, but I'm recording this in the afternoon, so 8 or so hours after Free Practice 2 ended. And I'm actually kind of happy that I did wait. Hopefully I can edit this video and get it out to you in time before the deadline, because there is a bit to talk about. And the first thing is obviously Alex Albon's crash in Free Practice 1 and Williams' statement. This is their statement that they put out on Twitter, saying that Albon is going to drive instead of Logan Sargeant because they don't have an extra chassis. Now, I'm not going to read through everything here. Yes, it is very harsh on Logan Sargeant, but I do kind of get it. People are criticizing this move, but come on. I mean, criticize the move to re-sign Logan Sargeant for a year. And I do echo some statement that, you know, yeah, it is unfair, sure, but Formula 1 and life is not fair. And that's just the world we live in. Logan Sargeant should consider himself lucky that he gets to drive 23 races this season instead of 0. So, yeah, you can... That's from Alex Albon. This hard moment. I mean, I do feel bad for him. I do feel bad for the guy. But that's where we're at. So, if you are sitting with Logan Sargeant in your team, or if you're sitting with Alex Albon in your team, which 59% of you do you really want to stick with them for this race? I don't know. So we are over on the F1 Fantasy website, and when you log in, this is actually the pop-up that you get. Announcement, driver change action required. Carlos Sainz returns to action for Ferrari, while Logan Sargeant will not be participating in the Australian Grand Prix. If you have Oliver Behrman or Logan Sargeant in your team, please transfer a different driver into your lineup. And this will work exactly as it did last week. If you had Carlos Sainz, it just says Carlos Sainz is out, and you have to use one of your free transfers to transfer him out. You do not get an automatic transfer in or out, or an extra transfer, or anything like that. The game is harsh. And this, if anything, both with, you know, Carlos Sainz returning and with Logan Sargeant missing out, further shows why you never make your transfers early. Never make your transfers early. You always make them before qualifying. You wait until the final moment, because things like this happen, and now it's happened 2 races in a row, and I've seen people make transfers who've been short on cash and had to downgrade one of their drivers to Logan Sargeant to afford the big move they wanted, getting in a Red Bull Racing constructor or a Max Verstappen. They've brought in Logan Sargeant already, and now he's not going to get points. Is that so bad? I mean, Logan Sargeant with 0 points is better than Logan Sargeant with -2, but, you know. Anyway, don't make your transfers early. This is your final warning. We are here with my team. Let me just move this along. So this is my team for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I've already discussed my result, how I did the performance of my assets and every asset in the game in my transfer plans video that I posted after the Saudi Grand Prix. So today we're just going to discuss what my plans were then and if they have changed at all, you know? So my plan was to bring in Checo and Red Bull Racing for Mercedes and Max Verstappen. Those were my 2 transfers that I was looking to make. Sergio Perez looks really, really good. Not as good as Max Verstappen, but if he is just a few points behind Max Verstappen, it's better to have the Red Bull Racing constructor than the Mercedes one and Max Verstappen. So this combo does look stronger, and that's what I was planning to make. It gives me a decent amount of money in the bank that I could do other exciting moves with. And I could also make a 3rd transfer. I was thinking of a Yuki Tsunoda. Now I'm also considering Alex Albon for another one of the backmarker drivers. It could be someone like a Pierre Gasly or someone like a K-Mag. Those were the main 2 I were considering bringing in for Yuki Tsunoda. Now I'm considering whether I should do it for Albon if I trust him to bring the car home, considering he crashed both in free practice and in the race last year. So what else really is there to discuss rather than just, you know, hit the transfer, get Checo in, get Max out, call it a day? Well, this might be my Ferrari brain talking, but Ferrari looked pretty good. Charles Leclerc topped the FP2 standings. Max Verstappen had a slight issue, and Ferrari look quick in Australia. And Checo languished down in 8th. Granted, most of this is quali pace. Quali have been close already, and I would not be surprised to see Charles Leclerc put it on pole tomorrow. But Red Bull's race car is that much better, right? So what I'm actually considering is, do I trust these free practice results? And do I get Charles Leclerc instead of Checo? I don't know. I don't know. It might just be my Ferrari delusion talking. This could turn out to be a terrible move. But considering the points they've gotten so far this season, it is very even between them. In terms of money, that's not really a problem. This is purely a who is going to perform better. And while when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, okay, what are they likely to get? Well, Charles Leclerc, I think, if I were to predict it now, I think Charles Leclerc will get pole. So that's a 10-pointer. He will then get overtaken by Max, lose 1 position in the race, might get some overtakes later if strategies are different. But I would imagine Charles finishing P3. That's probably my guess. So then who's finishing P2? Well, it probably would be Checo if Red Bull is as strong as they've looked in Bahrain and Saudi. And if Perez starts further back, he's obviously going to be the one who ends up with more points and perhaps even a driver of the day. Now, if he starts further back, he's more DNF prone. Having your DRS boost on a driver that does not finish the race is very, very scary. And it's the reason why I considered Max Verstappen to be essential early on, because he just doesn't DNF. And you really cannot have your DRS boost on a driver that DNFs. That is disaster. That truly is disaster. And especially Checo, who's only owned by 13% of managers, is a massive differential. I mean, George Russell is the only driver on the grid that's owned by less people. Checo is the second least owned driver of all managers. So yes, if he has a great race, that's a great upside. If he has a poor race, he has a poor race for you. And not for anyone else. And Red Bull Racing is only owned by 31%. So the upside of, well, I mean, if Checo crashes, obviously having Red Bull Racing is bad. But yeah, essentially, if you go Red Bull Racing and Checo, you essentially have 3 Checos in your team, because you have Checo with the DRS boost, so 2 Checos, and then you have a Checo baked into the Red Bull Racing points. So if Checo crashes, I mean, you're down, and you're it will be a hard deficit to claw back. That already puts you far behind everyone else. And while we're talking about it, this race, with how much the cars are bottoming out, drivers are making small mistake, ending up on the gravel, ending up on the grass. Could we see a lot of DNFs? Is this a race to use your no negative chip on? Maybe. Now, I discussed in my chip video that I posted earlier this week that because of the changes to the no negative chip, it is strictly better to use the no negative chip in a sprint race, because there's, since they remove negative points per category now, there's 2 races, twice the chance that one of your drivers DNF, right? Makes sense. But if you're scared, like I am, maybe use it now. Maybe. But then again, I'm going to be scared every week having Checo as my DRS boost, really. So I might as well just rip it and go in raw, you know, not have the no negative on and keep it for that optimal strategy. You know, the optimal time to use a no negative chip is when all of your drivers DNF, obviously, but you can't predict that. It's impossible to predict. You just have to use the information you have to make a good decision. To make a good decision. And I think the actual good decision to use it is in a sprint race. But with that said, if you use your no negative chip here in Australia, that's definitely a good move as well. I would not say that's a bad decision making, you know? So, which one is it? And do I use my third transfer on Albon or Tsunoda? I don't know yet. I'm actually sitting here as I'm making this video, and I have still not decided. Not at all. It's just like last week, but worse. Last week it turned out okay. This week it might not. I'm not going to make a decision until after FP3. I will post in the comments what transfers I do make. But I will not make that decision here and now. One decision I will make, however, is to get Red Bull Racing in. Which means I have to sell Max. The reason for that is that Mercedes look bad. Mercedes looks to be the 4th or 5th best car here. McLaren look better, Ferrari look better, Red Bull Racing obviously look better. So I don't want Mercedes for this race. I do want to bring Red Bull Racing in, which means that I'm going to have to select a new driver for my DRS boost, and it's going to be, it's going to be Charles Leclerc or Checo. It's one of those two. I will see how it looks in Free Practice 3 if Ferrari still look pretty fast, and also looking into more, the actual numbers of race pace for the longer runs. But I think it's safe to assume that Red Bull still has the superior race pace. It's just whether I trust Checo or if I want to play with Charles Leclerc and if he's going to get pole and maybe get a P2, you know. So that's the one choice I'm pending on. And then the second choice is, well, if I use my third transfer, is it on Albon, is it on Tsunoda? At this point, it's leaning towards Albon. If he were to put it in the wall in the race, there would be a lot of talk. From being like one of the safest drivers on the grid for next year in that Williams, and being universally praised by everyone from his performances last year. If he puts it in the wall in the race, that will raise some questions. That will definitely raise some questions. Do I dare have him do I dare bring him along? So that's pretty much everything I'm wrestling with at the moment. And the last thing I want to discuss is Alex Albon's pick percentage, because I feel like that's important. Yes, I'm scared about Alex Albon and how he will perform during the Australian Grand Prix. But, there will be a lot of pressure on him to perform. But if he does put it in the wall again, although it would be terrible for him, for us as managers that own him, he is owned by 60%. He is the most owned driver on the grid by quite some margin. So if he has a stinker, at least everyone else also has a stinker. And I really think most managers that are active actually have Albon in their teams if they're not choosing to transfer him out this week. Therefore, Yuki Tsunoda, I still don't think he has a lot of upside to him. For the same reason I've discussed in pretty much all my other videos where I've discussed Racing Bulls. That they just, they qualify P12 and then they go back one position in the race. There's not a lot of upside to Yuki Tsunoda. Whereas the upside with Alex Albon is greater. I think the downside of Alex Albon is also greater. But yeah, we'll see. I think for now, this is probably what the team will look like, and then either Yuki Tsunoda or Alex Albon will make way for Pierre Gasly. Yes, it's strange picking up an Alpine, but I do think he is due a price rise, and I'm trying to chase the price rises here. And with Alex Albon increasing in price by the amount he has, I fear he is one to decrease should he have a stinker. So yeah, that's pretty much it for now. I will post on Twitter and in my comments what my final decision ends up being after free practice 3. And we will just, cross our fingers and hope everything goes well. I will not be activating the no negative chip this week, but I definitely get it if you do, and it's not a bad strategy at all. Maybe I go for Charles Leclerc over Checo. Maybe if Ferrari look that good in free practice 3. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will be back after the Australian Grand Prix with another transfer plans video and more general discussion. So please do subscribe if you made it this far into the video. I feel like you should. It's gonna be a fun journey. I'm aiming for a very high finish this year, and we're definitely on our way towards it. Looking to bounce up from a slightly unfortunate, should we say, Saudi Grand Prix, and taking some risks, taking out Mr. Essential. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Peace.